Alright, so today I'm going to talk about how to find data using VLOOKUP. This is what we did in Excel Lab 7. So what we have here is a list of sales orders. We have 6 different orders with 6 different customer IDs. Each order has a different shipping method and quantity. All orders are for the same product. So we have this information given to us. Over here to the right we have 5 columns that are empty. Unit price, total price, unit shipping, total shipping, and grand total. Our information about unit pricing and shipping costs is in this area up here. And what we want to do is get the data from up here that has the prices and the shipping costs, and we want to pull that data down here into this lower area where our orders are. So we're going to do this using the VLOOKUP function. The VLOOKUP function does what it sounds like. It looks up information or looks up data from one area and it puts it into another area. So the way the VLOOKUP function works is it has 4 different parameters. 3 of them are required and 1 of them is optional, but I always do all 4 because to me it's just less confusing that way. So I'm going to start here with this unit price. Now the way that this unit pricing works is the pricing is based on the quantity. So if you come up here to this area at the top, if we order a quantity of 240 or greater, then we pay a price of $2. If we order a quantity of 120 or greater, then we pay a price of $2.12, etc. So basically a volume discount is what we're getting here. So I want to get those prices and pull them down here into the unit price. But I want to do that based on these quantities that are over here. So to use VLOOKUP, we're going to start by typing in an equal sign, like we do with all of our Excel functions. And I'm just going to type in VLOOKUP. The V in VLOOKUP is for vertical. We're using VLOOKUP because the data that we're searching is arranged vertically in columns. If your data were arranged in rows, then you would use HLOOKUP, H being for horizontal, but otherwise it works exactly the same way. Parameters for VLOOKUP, there are 4 of them. The first one is called the lookup value. The lookup value is the search term. In other words, what data do you have that you're going to use when you go looking for other data? So with the unit price here, what we're going to use is the quantity, because the quantity is what we're going to use to go and find a unit price. So my lookup value is this quantity, which is cell D14. So that's my first parameter. Second parameter is your table array. The table array is where do you want to go look for your data. Okay, where do I want to go to get a value that corresponds to this quantity of 240? So that area is up here. Okay, so this table at the top is my table array. So I'm going to choose this whole range from A7 to B10. I am not going to choose the 2 cells that say quantity in dollars each because I don't want to search through those cells. I just want to search through the data itself. And knowing that I'm going to be copying this function to another place later, I'm going to put the absolute referencing on that range, or in other words, the dollar signs. Okay, so I'm going to put dollar signs on the A7 and the B10. Okay, that freezes that array when I copy it to other places. Third parameter is my column index number. In most cases, that column index number is going to be 2. Basically what we've got is we have an array that has 2 columns in it, Okay, basically column A and column B. And column B is the second column in that array. So in other words, that's the column with index number 2. So that's what I'm going to type in there. Okay, and then lastly, we've got we've got the most confusing parameter, and this is whether you want an approximate match or an exact match. Basically, what this means is if you go to look for a value and you find a match, then that's good. That's what you want. But if you go to look for a value and you don't find a match, you have to decide what you want to happen. If you choose the false parameter, which means that you want an exact match, if you don't find a match, then Excel is going to give you an error message. Okay, it's going to tell you it can't find a match. On the other hand, if you choose the approximate match and you don't find a match, then Excel is just going to find the next closest match, and it's going to give you that answer. All right, so in this case, we're going to choose the approximate match, and I'll explain why in a second. But the approximate match corresponds to the word true. The people at Microsoft thought the word true made sense for an approximate match, so that's what it is. All right, so those are our 4 parameters. We've got our lookup value, our range, our column index number, and the word true, which corresponds to an approximate match. If I hit enter, then I get an answer of $2. And that's correct because that corresponds to my quantity of 240. Okay, 240 up here, and that corresponds to a price of $2. Now if I take that and I copy it down to the rest of the column, then I should get different unit prices corresponding to the quantities. So for a quantity of 30, I get a unit price of $245. For a quantity of 160, I get $212, etc. And notice here, I've got, for example, a quantity of 160. Okay, if I use VLOOKUP, then what I'm doing is I'm going to this area and trying to find a value. Well, I don't have a value of 160. I have quantities of 0, 60, 120, 240, but I don't have 160. So what Excel is going to do here is it's going to find the next closest value. So in other words, the value that is the next lowest to the value that I'm passing it, my lookup value. So I haven't ordered 240 or more, okay, which would correspond to a price of $2, but I have ordered 120 or more. And so my value of 160 is going to find that value that price that corresponds to 120, and it's going to grab that, and that's why it's grabbing the $2.12. Okay, so that's what the approximate match does. As a general rule, if you're working with numbers, like in this example, if you're working with quantities or prices, then you're probably going to be using the approximate match. If you're searching based on a text, you're going to be looking for the exact match. All right, before we go on and do the other VLOOKUP, let's calculate the total price. The total price is just the quantity times the unit price. So in this example, it's going to be D14 times E14. Right, so we're just multiplying those two things together to give us our total price. All right, so now for every order, we have a unit price, which we found using VLOOKUP, and a total price, which we calculated. All right, now let's find our shipping costs. Okay, our shipping costs are based on the shipping method, which is here in column C. And we're going to use VLOOKUP again. We're going to come up here and find a shipping cost that corresponds to our shipping method of choice. So again, I'm going to do VLOOKUP. First parameter is the lookup value. And in this case, that is the shipping method, which is right here. Okay, so it's in C14. This order is shipping via rail, and so we want to grab the shipping cost corresponding to that. So our lookup value, C14. our array, where do we want to go to find a value? That is up here this time, D7 through E10. I'm going to put the dollar signs on, whoops, I'm going to put the dollar signs on that again. Okay, so that array stays constant when I copy the formula. Next, my column index number, which is 2, because I'm interested in grabbing the cost, which is in the second column. And then lastly, our true or false parameter. This time, we don't want an approximate match, we want an exact match. In other words, if I have a shipping method, and I go to find the cost associated with that method, and I don't find a match, I don't want to just grab some other cost. Okay, I want to know that I don't have a match. So I'm going to choose false, okay, which is the exact match. Okay, if I do that, I get a unit shipping cost of 20 cents. So that's 20 cents per unit, which corresponds to my shipping method of rail. If I come up here and look, I see that 20 cents does correspond to that. And if I take that formula and copy it down, what's happened here? I've got a NA in order number 15. Okay, the rest of these look like they got values, but this one doesn't. So let's figure out why. If I come over here to my shipping methods, I see here that I've got a shipping method of train. Okay, well, if I come up here to where my shipping costs are, I don't have a shipping cost that corresponds to train. Okay, I've got rail, but I don't have something called train. So basically, Excel can't find a match, and because I put in the false parameter, okay, Excel is wanting an exact match, and since it can't find one, it gives me the not available or not applicable answer here. So in this case, my choices are I can either change my shipping method, or I can come up here to the top and add train to my list of valid shipping costs. Let's say that this person, whoever put in train, really should have put in rail, so I'm going to change this. And when I do that, I get a unit shipping cost of 20 cents. Okay, let's finish this out here. So we have a unit shipping. Now let's calculate a total shipping. So that is the unit shipping times the quantity. So D14 times G14. Okay, so we get a total shipping for each order. And then lastly, we have a grand total. Our grand total is going to be our total price plus our total shipping. Okay, so total price is F14 plus total shipping H14. Okay, so I have $528 for order number 1. If I copy it down, I get a grand total for the rest of the orders. And that's pretty much it. Okay, VLOOKUP is useful for finding values that are in other areas. In this case, we pulled values that were on the same sheet, but it also works between different sheets if you want to do that. Basically, the parameters are your search term, your array, the column number, and then whether you want a approximate match or an exact match.